Part 33. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 321. In fact, not only did Cao instantly understand the emotions in Lu Feng's poems, 11's He and Guojia were also very knowledgeable in poetry, so they also understood the meaning of Lu Feng's poems. In fact, the reason why Lu Feng wanted to make this poem was because it was so suitable for the occasion that it did not require much research and thinking. Both Cao, 11's He and Guojia could easily know what he meant. In the first sentence of the opening sentence, Lu Feng expressed that if they could go back to the time when they first met Cao, would the two of them seize the opportunity and form a deeper friendship as soon as possible? If that were the case, maybe the two of them would not need to be in such a hostile relationship as they are now, but could instead work together to end the troubled times as soon as possible and fight for the people to live a better life. In that case, with the combined power of Lu Feng and Cao, two of the most talented and strategic people in the world, perhaps the world would have been unified long ago. The last few lines of the poem express Lu Feng and Cao's separation and even their farewell to Cao, their emotion and reluctance to see them apart. How could Cao and others not be surprised when hearing such obvious and fiery emotions coming from an unparalleled monarch like Lu Feng? Cao thought that he had enough emotions, while Lu Feng was more sophisticated, but he didn't expect that he would express his emotions so vividly in poetry. At this time, Lu Feng looked at Cao. Although the night was dark, under the moonlight, he could feel Cao's shoulders shaking slightly, and tears seemed to be shining in the corners of his eyes. Lu Feng knew that a man would not shed tears easily because he had not reached the point of sadness, and the tears in the corners of Cao's eyes at this time just showed that he had true feelings for him. This damn troubled world. If it weren't for this troubled world, the two of them would have become good friends. But there are no ifs in this world, so Cao is so sad. In this regard, neither Lu Feng nor Guojia 11's He would naturally disturb Cao. All they could do was pretend not to know anything and wait for Cao to adjust his emotions to evaluate Lu Feng's poems. After a long time, Cao finally came to his senses. Although Lu Feng couldn't see his expression because of the darkness, it can be imagined that his face must be full of tears at this moment, but he still put on a smile. Sure enough, Cao smiled and said, "Brother Tiankai, your poems are really getting better and better. As far as I know, the last person who allowed you to write poems for a person was probably Mr. Cai Yang. His pearl is probably Cai Yan, his younger sibling. In this way, Brother Wei is the only two people in the world who can make the virtuous brother write poems for him. This is really the honor of Brother Wei, and it is not in vain to have friendship with the virtuous brother." After Cao finished speaking, several people discussed again, and then everyone took turns writing poems. At this time, although the soldiers on both sides did not stand still waiting for Cao, Lu Feng, and the other four, the place where they set up camp was not far from the place where the four were drinking and writing poems. Although the war is not over yet, the two emperors drinking and chatting in such a relaxed manner made the generals and soldiers of both sides relax a lot. They knew that there would be a life and death battle between the two armies after dawn, so they cherished the leisurely moment even more. Seeing the two talented emperors not far away chatting and laughing, and even reciting poems to each other, the soldiers on both sides felt inexplicably sad. If it weren't for this troubled world, they should be able to relax and drink and chat like this. When it was Cao's turn, he thought for a long time and said to Lu Feng, inspired by the wise brother Tiankai, "I will also write a poem today. If it is not good, please give me your advice after." Cao finished speaking, he slowly said he sang his famous song Hao Li Xing. Due to historical changes, Cao had never written this poem before in this life, so it was completely created on the spot, which really surprised Guojia 11's He. Especially the sentence white bones are exposed in the wild, and there are no roosters crowing for thousands of miles, which caters to the troubled times at this time and the pain caused by the war to the people, which surprised Guojia he 11's Hike. Especially Guojia, he just now knew that Cao actually had a talent for poetry as good as anyone else. Although he had not heard of Cao's other works, just one of them was enough to make Guojia awe. After Cao finished reciting, Lu Feng immediately said, "Brother Mengde, this poem really explains the suffering of the people, and people can't help crying after listening to it." However, Cao did not follow Lu Feng's compliment. He continued, but said seriously, "Tiankai, the people have been suffering in these troubled times for a long time. From the Yellow Turban Uprising, to the establishment of the 8 kingdoms, and now, the war has never really stopped. Even going forward, since in the decades since Huanling, the people have been living in dire straits. Now only you and me plus the 3 kingdoms of Shu are left, and my country, Wei, may disappear from the world after tomorrow, and this troubled times will soon end. Tiankai, promise to be your brother, end the troubled times as soon as possible, and give the people a bright future, so that they can have enough food and clothing to live a truly happy life, okay?" Lu Feng listened to Cao's words and said seriously, "Brother Mengde, please don't worry, this is also my little brother's wish." After receiving Lu Feng's promise, Cao smiled reassuringly, drank the already cold tea in one gulp, and then said, "Okay, with your words, I can rest assured. Today I had a long talk with the Dragon Emperor, which was very pleasant, and it also fulfilled my 2 wishes. It will be dawn soon, and I should go back." The 2 of them were about to return to the camp, and Cao also took the initiative to change his identity. Once again claiming to be Emperor Wei seems to be reminding Lu Feng that the 2 are still in a hostile relationship and should not show mercy. Lu Feng naturally understood Cao's intention, and he immediately stood up and said, "Brother Mengde, please go back to the city and rest. It will be dawn in less than 2 hours. When it dawns, it will be my time to attack the city." Cao heard this, and returned to Wu County with 11 Ji without looking back. 2 hours later, at dawn, Lu Feng commanded the Dragon Kingdom army to launch a fierce attack on Wu County. 4 generals, Zhang Liao, Ma Chao, Tai Shi Ci and Dian Wei, each led an army of 100,000 and launched a fierce attack on the 4 city gates of Wu County. There was no siege of Sanqi, because both Cao and Lu Feng knew that this battle would be a battle to the death between them. Either Cao died in the battle and the Wei kingdom was destroyed, or Cao persisted for 2 more days and then died in the battle, and the Wei kingdom was destroyed. There is absolutely no third possibility. Therefore, Cao personally commanded the Wei army to resist and fight for death. But after all, the strength of the Dragon Kingdom's army was far stronger than that of the Wei Kingdom. Cao's men, except for Xiahedun and Su Chu, even had no one available. 3 days later, the Long Kingdom army broke through the gate of Wu County. 3 kingdoms, I have a job transfer palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 322. During these 3 days, although Cao resisted vigorously, he still could not change the fate of defeat, and he also experienced 3 painful separations of life and death. On the first day, Xiahedun guarded the north gate and fought desperately despite the ultra-long distance bows and arrows fired by the longbowmen of the Dragon Kingdom. While the rest of the soldiers guarding the city were hiding in the corners of the city wall to avoid the rain of arrows, he was still blocking the arrows alone, overturning the ladders of the Dragon Kingdom or killing the Dragon Kingdom soldiers who were rushing up. At this moment, Xiahedun was like a god of war, worthy of his official position as a general. However, although Xiahedun's steadfastness gave great encouragement to the Wei army officers and soldiers, his outstanding performance also attracted the attention of Tai Shi Ci, the commander of the Dragon Kingdom army who mainly attacked the North Gate. So, 200 steps away, Taishi Ci opened his bow and arrow, and shot an arrow like a meteor towards Xiahedun. Taishi Ci had gone through the job transfer hall and had already reached the early stage of a super general. However, Xiahedun, who was at the top of the first class, had no time to resist the arrow and was hit in the left eye. If it were an ordinary person, the arrow in the left eye would definitely lose its combat effectiveness even if it survived. However, Xiahedun was extremely strong. He just yelled and then pulled out the arrow with his hand, but he didn't want to pull out the eyeball as well. So Xiahedun shouted, "Father's sperm and mother's blood must not be discarded." Then he swallowed the eyeballs in one gulp. Xiahedun's move not only greatly boosted the morale of the Wei army, but also frightened the entire Dragon Kingdom army. Even Taishi Ci, the archer, saw Xiahedun and praised Xiahedun as a real man. Later, Taishi Ci gave up his bow and arrow, and instead climbed up the city wall to challenge Xiahedun. As a result, Xiahedun's vision was affected due to an injury to his left eye, and he bled too much, causing his reaction to continue to decline. In the end, he could not withstand Taishi Ci's attack and was stabbed in the heart by him. As the only general after Cao became emperor, Xiahedun not only held a high position in the Wei kingdom, but also was deeply loved by the soldiers of the Wei army because he was frugal, never owned any property in his life, and gave all his rewards to his soldiers. Therefore, his death seriously stimulated tens of thousands of Wei soldiers, and the Wei army united to protect Xiahedun's body and his career. Therefore, everyone besieged Taishi Ci regardless of their own safety, and even wanted to exchange their lives for lives. Faced with such fierce Wei soldiers who were not afraid of death, Taishi Ci had to retreat to the city temporarily. Xiahedun was not only the first person to come to help Cao after he raised his army, but he was also a kinsman to him. The two were as close as brothers, so when Xiahedun died, it was a huge blow to Cao. The officers and soldiers of the Wei army also blocked the Dragon Kingdom's attack on the first day with the attitude of mourning for victory. When the Dragon Kingdom attacked again the next day, the first ones to make a breakthrough were Dian Wei and his Longwu soldiers who attacked the south gate of Wuxian County. When the Longwu soldiers reached the city wall, the Wei army was in a state of defeat, so Su Chu, who had been directing the battle, stepped forward. Although Su Chu was 10 inches taller than his waist, he reacted very quickly. He actually dodged all the Longwu soldiers' crossbow arrows and ran among the Longwu soldiers in an instant. For fear of accidentally injuring their comrades, the Long soldiers gave up using crossbows and instead used halberds and swords to attack Su Chu. However, Su Chu, as the only super general in the Wei kingdom, not only had outstanding martial arts skills, but also had great power. Every time he swung his sword, the dragon soldiers and soldiers could not avoid it. Although they were wearing 3 layers of heavy armor, it was difficult for even Su Chu to break through their defenses, but Su Chu's huge power was enough to injure the Longwu soldiers even through heavy armor. Several people were even pushed back from the city wall by Su Chu. Therefore, Longwu, who had been invincible for several years since his debut and had almost no casualties, suffered dozens of casualties in less than a quarter of an hour when he besieged Su Chu. Dian Wei, who was commanding the battle below the city, was naturally heartbroken when he saw this. So he shouted to Su Chu, "You fat pig, don't hurt the lives of my brothers, wait until I, Lao Dian, come up to challenge you." After hearing this, Su Chu looked down the city, and there was a tall and muscular figure between them. The strong man who looks like a black iron tower is climbing up the city wall quickly. He knew that this man was Dian Wei, the commander-in-chief of the Dragon Warriors and the former #1 general under the Dragon Emperor Lu Feng. Not only had Su Chu heard about Dian Wei for a long time, but he also heard that he was good at wielding a pair of 80-pound iron halberds and was extremely powerful. Walked 100 steps. Therefore, Su Chu was very dissatisfied with Dian Wei because everyone regarded him as the most powerful general in the world. He had long wanted to find a chance to compete with him, but there was no chance. Now that Dian Wei had taken the initiative to rush over, he naturally wouldn't miss it. He immediately jumped out of the surrounding dragon soldiers and rushed towards Dian Wei. Both of them were men of astonishing strength. The moment they collided, Dian Wei's iron halberd and Su Chu's steel sword also collided with each other. There was a loud noise, and both of them took 2 steps back before standing still. The first time they met, the two were almost evenly matched in terms of strength. Later, Dian Wei, who had injured dozens of dragon warriors, rushed in front of Su Chu again. Instead of relying on brute force, he used speed and martial arts to launch a violent attack on Su Chu. Su Chu also showed no sign of weakness. The two of them went back and forth on the city wall and fought for more than 100 rounds, with neither one winning or losing. Then, Su Chu swung his sword and forced Dian Wei to jump out of the battle circle. He wiped the sweat from his body and said, "The armor is too hot. Wait until I take it off before I fight you then." Su Chu took off his armor and went into battle shirtless. Fought with Dian Wei again. This time the two fought for more than 200 rounds. Su Chu gradually became exhausted. In addition, the soldiers of the Dragon Kingdom continued to rush up the city wall and kill in the direction of Cao, which distracted Su Chu. Dian Wei seized the opportunity and chopped off Su Chu's head with a halberd. It happened that it was getting late at this time, and the Dragon Kingdom sent out gold to withdraw its troops, and Dian Wei then withdrew his army. But Cao saw Su Chu killed in battle with his own eyes and felt sad again. On the third day, Cao had no generals available. His second son, Cao Zhang, born to Queen Bian, was only 10 years old, but he was obsessed with practicing martial arts and had become a fierce general, so he took his soldiers to guard the east gate. Unexpectedly, because Xiahou and Su Chu were killed one after another, the morale of the Wei army had been hit. It didn't take long for Ma Chao to rush to the city wall and kill him in a dozen rounds. Within 3 days, Cao watched Xiahou, Su Chu and Cao Zhang being killed one after another, and he suddenly had no intention of fighting again. So he returned to the palace and personally killed Queen Bian and several of his sons, including Cao Ang, Cao Pai and Cao Ji, and then committed suicide. With the death of Cao, the state of Wei also fell. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 323. In fact, Cao had no choice but to kill Queen Bian and all his descendants. First of all, Cao knew that the situation was over. Even if he lingered, he would not only be unable to change the situation, but he might also let more people die for him. With the deaths of Xiahou and Su Chu, he knew that if he persisted, Sun Yu, 11's He and others might be next. And they are not military generals, and they are all talented people. They can help Lu Feng defeat Liu Bei and end the troubled times. They can also assist Lu Feng in governing the world and avoiding the suffering of the people as much as possible. Therefore, in order to prevent them from making any mistakes, Cao decided to commit suicide. However, if he dies, how should Queen Bian and his sons deal with themselves? Cao believed that with Lu Feng's personality, he might not kill his entire family and cut off the Cao family, but he could not guarantee what his son would do. Maybe they would blame Lu Feng for their own deaths and look for opportunities to take revenge. It is said that a son is better than his father. According to Cao's understanding of his son, others dare not say it, but at least Cao Pai will definitely remember Lu Feng and secretly look for opportunities to assassinate Lu Feng for revenge. This is obviously not what Cao wants to see. After all, Lu Feng's achievements for the people in Liaodong, Yuzhou, and even the entire Dragon Kingdom were witnessed by Cao with his own eyes. Whether it is King Liaodong, King Bingjian, or Dragon Emperor Lu Feng, his original intention has never changed. He has always made the people under his rule live a good life. This is exactly what Cao has said since his childhood. Even if he cannot realize it himself, with a like-minded friend like Lu Feng fulfilling his wish on his behalf, he will have no regrets even if he dies. Therefore, Cao has every reason to believe that under the leadership of Dragon Emperor Lu Feng, the people of the Han dynasty can live a good life and no longer have to worry about survival. They can all have enough to eat and wear warm clothes. At least, the scene of white bones exposed in the wild and no roosters crowing for thousands of miles will no longer appear, and that is enough. But if Cao Pi, or his other sons, took advantage of Lu Feng's trust in him to assassinate Lu Feng in order to avenge himself, then Cao would be so regretful that he would not rest in peace even if he died. Even if Cao told them that his death had nothing to do with Lu Feng, he was still worried that Cao Pi and others would hold a grudge against Lu Feng. Therefore, in order to prevent what he was worried about from happening, and to prevent Lu Feng from having a hard time deciding what to do with his sons, Cao finally chose to call all his sons together, drink poisoned wine for them, and kill them with his own hands. Got them. Cao then committed suicide. By the time the army of the Dragon Kingdom broke through the gate of Wu County and entered the palace, Cao had been dead for a long time. Following Cao's suicide, 11's He, Sun Yu, Chen Yu and others were all captured. Later, Lu Feng entered the Wuxian palace. After seeing the bodies of Cao Pi and others, he was silent for a long time, and then said, "Brother Mengde committed suicide as a courtesy. I have decided to bury him with honor as an emperor." After hearing this, Jia knew that Lu Feng was feeling sad at this time, so he began to persuade him, "Your Majesty, Emperor Wei committed suicide, but he has entrusted all his funeral affairs to you, which can be regarded as asking for mercy. Please don't be too sad." Lu Feng listened and nodded numbly, then walked out of the palace and said to Guozhou Fengxiao, "Ji is your friend, and the task of persuading him to surrender is left to you. As for Gongda, you also try to persuade him first. If he fails to persuade, ask someone to take him to Luoyang and hand him over to Wenruo to persuade him. After Zhe surrenders, you can work with him to persuade Chen Yu and other remaining Wei officials." Guojia naturally obeyed Lu Feng's order and left. At the same time, the voice of the transfer elf sounded in Lu Feng's mind, "Congratulations, Master, for destroying Wei. The experience value has reached its peak and you can transfer for the 6th time." After hearing this, Lu Feng became excited and hurried back to his own camp. He underwent his 6th job transfer and became a rank 6 general, reaching a level comparable to that of a Wuji general. With the fall of Wei, the Dragon State aggressively annexed Wei's territory and reorganized Wei's army. The 4 counties of Yangzhou, Suzhou, and Jingzhou except Wuling, Lingling and Guiyang, the 4 counties of Yuzhou except Yingchuan, and the 4 counties of Jiaozhou except Jiazhai, Zhejiang, and Renan all became the territory of the Dragon Kingdom. The entire China plus the 14 foreign states, excluding Yuzhou, and the above-mentioned 7 counties of Jingzhou, Yuzhou, and Jiaozhou, have all become the territory of the Dragon Kingdom. Then, after 3 days of rest, Lu Feng led the Dragon Kingdom's million-strong army to kill Zishuan and the Shu Kingdom. At the same time, Ma Teng's army, which has been attacking Beijing, and Lu Buletin's army, which came to Yizhou first for support, are attacking Shenzhen in Yizhou with all their strength. The reason why Lu Feng sent Lu Buletin to Yizhou to support Ma Teng that day was because Liu Bei actually sent Wu Tugu, the leader of the Yugo kingdom, to resist Ma Teng's Ziliang army. Not only was Wu Tugu himself invulnerable as a super general, but the 30,000 vine-armored troops under him were also invulnerable and unsinkable because they were wearing vine armor. Ma Teng was defeated step by step, and even Pangda was almost defeated by Wu Tugu. Bone protruding beheading. Originally, as the emperor of the Wolf Kingdom, Lu Buledin formed an alliance with the Dragon Kingdom and would not destroy the country so early. However, because he listened to Ma Teng's words, he formed an alliance with the Liang Kingdom to counterattack the Dragon Kingdom. In the end, the Liang Kingdom turned back and led to the destruction of the Wolf Kingdom. Therefore, Lu Buledin actually had a deep hatred for Ma Teng. Although the two of them worked under Lu Feng, their relationship was not good. However, after Lu Buledin passed through the job transfer hall, his loyalty to Lu Feng has reached 100%, so he will naturally let go of his resentment at this time, and everything will focus on the unification of the Dragon Kingdom. Therefore, after Lu Buledin led the Bingzhou Wolf Cavalry to Ba County, they started a big battle with Wu Tugu. Lu Buledin was 10 feet tall. Originally, he had never seen anyone taller than himself, but this time when he saw the protruding bones that were 2 feet tall, he seemed very short. However, the strength of generals does not mean whoever is taller is more powerful. Both of them are super generals, and Lu Buledin has a square halberd in his hand. No one in the world can defeat him except Lu Feng. So even though he was tall and heavy, Lu Buledin was not afraid. The two fought back and forth for more than 100 rounds. Although Wu Tugu was invulnerable, Lu Buledin was extremely powerful, and Fang Tian's painted halberd was also a magic weapon, which still left many scars on his body. As a 7th level unit, the Bingzhou Wolf Cavalry was unable to break through the defense of the Vine Armor soldiers, but it still caused great damage to them. Coupled with Ma Teng's Ziliang army, Wu Tugu and the Shu army were eventually defeated. Finally, upon Jia Su's suggestion, Liu Bei concentrated all his troops in the capital of Shu, preparing for a decisive battle with the Dragon Kingdom. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 324. Liu Bei knew that Ma Teng had already captured Yizhu in Hanzhong and Beijing. In addition, after the arrival of Lu Buledin, the protruding Vine Armor soldiers were retreating steadily, and Shu County would no longer be able to defend it. In addition to these 3 counties, the remaining 5 counties in Yizhu, including Shigu County, Guanggang Kingdom, and the 3 Shu kingdoms also have the characteristics of dangerous mountain roads that are easy to defend and difficult to attack. However, they are not rich in general. Food, grass, and defensive equipment are not enough. Not much. Especially in Yongchang County, the west is inhabited by the Pu tribe, the south is inhabited by the Fujian Pu tribe, Juliao tribe, and other tribes, and the southwest is inhabited by the Liao tribe, of which Han people only account for half. In this case, if Lu Buledin, Ma Teng, and others united with these foreign races, Yongchang County would not be able to hold on for even one day. Therefore, instead of wasting troops to defend the city in these counties that cannot be defended, it is better to concentrate all the troops in Loxian County, the capital of Guanggang County, to fight the Dragon Kingdom to the death. However, although Liu Bei could understand Jia Su's thoughts, not everyone among his generals knew. For example, Zhang Fei did not know Jia Su's intentions. So he was the first to jump out and shouted the Prime Minister's plan is inappropriate. Brother can't listen to him. We have given up on other counties and only gathered forces in Loxian County for a decisive battle. If we cannot defeat Lu Feng, we will even retreat. There is no place for you, isn't this asking for death? However, after Liu Bei heard this, he said to Zhang Fei, third brother, please be patient. In fact, I already know when he's thoughts. His suggestion is right, now even Cao is dead, and there are only 2 countries, Shu and Long, in the world. We must be careful in everything. Although there is a certain danger in giving up those counties, this is the best way. Even if we don't give up those counties, with the strength there, cannot defend the city at all, and some may not even be able to hold on for a day. Therefore, the army of the Dragon Kingdom will hit Luo County sooner or later, and then we will have no place to retreat. And according to what you said, not only is it not helpful to the current situation, but it will prevent the concentration of troops due to the division of troops into many places. If the Dragon Kingdom defeats them one by one, it will waste more troops. In addition, our army has taken back all the defenders and concentrated them in Luo County can be regarded as retreating to advance. Otherwise, when the other counties are captured by the Dragon Kingdom army, our army will lose consecutive battles and morale will inevitably be affected. Therefore, there is no other way now. The only way we can what we did was to concentrate our forces, and then rely on the dangerous terrain of Loxian County, which is easy to defend and difficult to attack, and the strength of super generals like you, the third brother and the second brother, to resist as much as possible. In the Battle of Loxian County, we concentrated all our forces and fought against Long. The country will fight to the death. If we win, we can drive them out of Yizhu. We will continue to develop. If we lose, I will die with everyone, and my journey in this world will not be in vain. It must be said that Liu Bei is very good at winning people's hearts and boosting morale. He does have some talents. After his words, he not only relieved Jiesu, but also mobilized the morale of Zhangfei, Jiesu, and others. He was indeed very clever. After Liu Bei finished speaking, Jiesu said, "Your Majesty, in fact, we are not just passively defending Luo County. I have another plan. If successful, not only can we directly turn defeat into victory, but at least it will allow our army to take the initiative." Liu Bei was overjoyed when he heard Jiesu's words and hurriedly asked Prime Minister, "What's the plan?" Not only Liu Bei was excited after hearing this, Zhang Fei also couldn't help but asked Mr. Jie, "You have other plans, why don't you tell me earlier? Tell me quickly, old Zhang, can't wait any longer." However, compared to Zhang Fei and Liu Bei's eagerness, Jiesu still said calmly, "Your Majesty, this plan is relatively confidential, and no outsiders should know about it. A euro. After Jiesu finished speaking, he looked around awkwardly. Liu Bei immediately understood what Jiesu meant and immediately dismissed everyone, leaving only Jiesu, Guan Yu, and Zhang Fei. Then Liu Bei said, "There are no outsiders now. If you have any plans, just tell me, and I can make arrangements as soon as possible." Jiesu knew that Guan and Zhang were loyal to Liu Bei, so he no longer tried to show off, but calmed down. Su said, "Your Majesty, once our army concentrates all its troops in Luo County, it will have at least 5 to 6 million troops. This is definitely not something that Lu Buletin and Ma Teng can compete with less than 100,000 soldiers. Therefore, I believe that by then, at that time, it was very likely that the Dragon Emperor Lu Feng would personally conquer the country like he did when he pacified Wei. As soon as he went out, our army would have a chance." Cao's personal expedition on that day greatly boosted the morale of the Wei army in Suzhou, allowing the Wei army to temporarily resist the dragon. However, the Dragon Emperor unexpectedly sent Gan Ning's Jinfan army southward by water. Taking advantage of the emptiness of Yangzhou after the Wei Emperor left, he directly raided Jianyi, the capital of Wei, causing the Wei Emperor to hastily withdraw from the front line. But still before he could arrive, Jianyi was captured by Gan Ning, forcing Cao to temporarily move his capital to Wu County. As soon as Cao left the front line, the morale of the Wei army immediately fell to the bottom. Not only was it easily defeated by the Dragon army, but it also lost one after another. The whole territory of Suzhou and several counties in Yangzhou. It can be said that Gan Ning's raid on the capital of Wei was a turning point in the war between the two countries. The originally evenly matched situation collapsed instantly, and the Wei army was defeated. In the end, the Wei emperor committed suicide and the Wei state was destroyed. Start from here. Therefore, I believe that our army can also adopt the strategy of the Dragon Kingdom at that time, and send a general to lead troops to secretly raid out while the troops of each county have not been recovered, An ambush near Luoyang. Wait until Lu Feng leads the army. When the Dragon Kingdom's million-strong army besieged Loxian County, that group of surprise troops stormed Luoyang. As long as we capture Luoyang, our army is very likely to turn defeat into victory. Even if we cannot capture Luoyang for the time being, we will force the Dragon Emperor to lead his army to come back for reinforcements. Once the Dragon Emperor leaves, the morale of the Dragon Kingdom's army must have plummeted, and there is nothing to be afraid of. The siege of Loxian County will be solved soon. After hearing Jia Su's words, Liu Bei was suddenly excited and asked quickly, in Wen He's opinion, who do you think will come? Who is the most suitable person to lead this army? Jia Su replied, this general must be Chen Dao. Although the number of generals in Shu is not as good as that in Wei, its generals far exceed those in Wei. However, most of them have fought against Long. Only Chen Dao has been serving as His Majesty's bodyguard and has never had any fight with the Dragon Kingdom. If the two generals Guan and Zhang were sent, the Dragon Emperor would not see the two generals in front of the formation, so he would definitely be suspicious, but he didn't know that Chen Dao was there, so it doesn't matter. After Liu Bei heard this, he immediately said, okay, let's send Chen Dao to attack Luoyang. This task is difficult, so I will let Chen Dao go with the White Ear elite soldiers after. Liu Bei finished speaking, he immediately called Chen Dao and asked Jia Su. After telling him his plan, Chen Dao took the order and left. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 325. Chen Dao led his troops to attack Luoyang, the capital of the Dragon Kingdom. He was going there secretly, so he should not bring too many people, so he only brought 3,000 white-eared soldiers. Chen Dao led 3,000 Bayer soldiers from Loxian County, detoured to Yizhu County, and then arrived at the junction of Sizhu and Yizhu, waiting for Lu Feng's army to besiege Loxian County so that he could sneak attack Luoyang. After Chen Dao left, Liu Bei ordered all the county guards in Yizhu to lead their troops back to Loxian County to defend one place and fight to the death with the Dragon Kingdom army. As soon as the garrison troops from various counties in Shu withdrew, Ma Teng and Lu Buletin immediately led the Liangzhou army and Bingzhou army to occupy various counties along the way, and pursued them all the way to the gate of Luo County. However, because Lu Feng's main army had not yet arrived, the two of them only had 80,000 troops combined and were unable to attack the city. But Lu Buletin was unwilling to wait outside the city for Lu Feng's army to arrive, and wanted to make a contribution first, so he relied on his unparalleled martial arts to call for an array under Luokang. Before this, Wu Tugu had fought with Lu Buletin for more than 100 rounds. The two were originally indecisive, but because Lu Buletin's Bingzhou Wolf cavalry defeated his Vine armor soldiers, he had to lead the Vine armor soldiers to retreat. As for Wu Tugu, since he cultivated to the point of invulnerability, he has never been defeated in a duel. Although he was not defeated in a duel with Lu Buletin, the Vine armor soldiers made him the foundation of the leader of the Yugo kingdom. He could not watch the Vine armor soldiers be eliminated, so the battle with Lu Buletin became his only retreat. Although the retreat was not due to lack of strength on his part, it still made Wu Tugu unable to let go. So as soon as he saw Lu Buletin stepping forward to call for battle, he immediately came out to fight with a long sword. When Lu Buletin saw Wu Tugu coming, he laughed and cursed, "Who do I think it is? It turns out that the defeated general under me, Lu Buletin, has escaped again. Could it be that he wants to suffer another defeat?" He had never experienced defeat before, so he could not bear such humiliation. He rushed towards Lu Buletin with a strange scream. Although Lu Buletin dismissed Wu Tugu in his mouth, he knew in his heart that he was powerful. Although he defeated him last time, it was not that his own force was superior to the opponent's, but that the opponent was unwilling to fight. So this time, although he despised the Wutu bone in his mouth, he attached great importance to his opponent in his heart, and he was not slow in his hands. He clamped the belly of the red rabbit horse with his legs and rushed out like a whirlwind. Wu Tugu is a peerless military general. He is invulnerable and extremely powerful. He is very powerful with a long sword in his hand. Lu Buledin is also a peerless military general. He has 5 skills for changing professions, and his combat power is strong and he is not inferior at all. Moreover, Lu Buledin's Fangtian painted halberd was a rare magical weapon in the world. Although his sharp bones were invulnerable, small wounds would still be made on his body by the power of Fangtian painted halberd and Lu Buledin. The last time he fought with Lu Buledin, Wu Tugu relied on his invulnerability and hardly defended himself, so he suffered a slight injury from Fangtian's painted halberd. So this time the two of them fought again. Wu Tugu had gained experience and no longer traded lives for lives by attacking rather than defending as before, so the situation fell into a deadlock for a while. After Lu Feng's battle with Lu Buledin in front of Hulao Pass, this was another battle between peerless generals in just a few years, which excited all the generals present. After all, after Emperor Jiaozu defeated Chu over Lord Xiangyu, there had never been a duel between two peerless generals in the Han dynasty for 400 years. Although there have been peerless generals like Xiang Huoqubing and Li Guang in the past 400 years, they were both generals of the Han dynasty and were in the same camp and had never fought against each other. The last battle between Lu Feng and Lu Buledin brought a lot of benefits to the generals watching the battle. Now they also want to learn some combat skills and experience from the battle between Lu Buledin and Wu Tugu. As for Lu Buledin and Wu Tugu, they had an absolute advantage in the past and could quickly kill their opponents. It was neither challenging nor greatly improved their own strength. Now they finally met a well-matched opponent. Both of them used all the moves they had learned in their lives, hoping to break through. So the two sides went back and forth, and the battle continued for hundreds of rounds, but there was still no winner. Later, due to the lack of physical strength on both sides and the fact that it was getting late, the two had to make a temporary truce. That night, Lu Buledin received an order from the Dragon Emperor and learned that the Dragon Emperor's army would arrive outside the city of Loxian County the day after tomorrow at the latest. Chen Gong suggested that Lu Buledin not go to battle the next day and conserve his strength to wait for the Dragon Emperor to arrive and attack the city together. On the other hand, because Lu Feng learned that Liu Bei had gathered all his troops in Luocheng, the imperial capital of Shu, preparing to fight him to the death, he led a 1,000,000-strong army that had just returned from Wei to march westward to Yizhu, preparing to pacify the world. Lu Feng's army left Luoyang. Chen Dao, who had been ambushing at the junction of Sizhu and Yizhu for a long time, got the news through scouts and immediately led his army to bypass Sizhu on the only way to Yizhu to avoid encountering Lu Feng's army. Touch. After Lu Feng's army left, and another day passed, Chen Daoki began to sneak into Henanyin with the Bayer soldiers and launched an attack on Luoyang city. According to Jiasu's speculation, the Dragon Emperor led 1,000,000 Dragon Kingdom troops to Yizhu to attack Shu. His capital, Luoyang, must have insufficient defensive power and empty troops. When Chen Dao left with Lu Feng's troops, he also followed the scouts to personally observe the Long Kingdom's army from a distance, and found that it was just as Prime Minister Jiasu predicted. The vanguard army Ma Chao led the Dragon City cavalry in front. The Chinese army Lu Feng personally led 1,000,000 troops and red-blooded dragon cavalry, plus Dianwei and Longwu soldiers, Zhao Yun and White Horse Yi Kong, Tai Shi Ci and Longbao soldiers, Ganning and Jinfan army, all kinds of troops are there. In addition, 11's He, Sun Yu, Chen Yu, the surrendered generals of the Wei Kingdom, and the 5 tigers of the Dragon Kingdom were also among the army. As a result, Luoyang's military strength must be empty, and only Sun Yu is left as the defender. Although Sun Yu is a super strategist, he is still a scribe after all. No matter how many strategies he has, it is useless. Without the special forces of the Dragon Kingdom, it would be difficult for ordinary Dragon Kingdom soldiers to defeat the White soldiers unless they had 10 times the strength. In addition, Chen Dao was also a super general himself, so he was confident of taking Luoyang. So Chen Dao led the white-ear elite soldiers to cross the mountains and ridges, avoiding the four major checkpoints in Luoyang, appeared outside Luoyang city, and launched a surprise attack. But what Jia Su and Chen Dao never dreamed of was that although Lu Feng took away most of the troops, while wiping out the Wei state, Lu Feng received a 7th level soldier transfer order, and the transfer was completed. 3,000 Qin Rui soldiers. Even if Luoyang doesn't have a single military commander, only 3,000 Qin Rui soldiers are enough to defeat the Bayer soldiers. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 326. The reason why Lu Feng was so confident that he left only 3,000 Qin Rui soldiers and 7,000 ordinary Dragon Kingdom soldiers to Sun Yu, who stayed in Luoyang, a total of 10,000 troops, and left Luoyang without a single general, was precisely because of the powerful Qin Rui people. Strength. This Qin Ruishi originated from the period of Qin Xiaogong. After Shang Yang's reform, the Qin state formulated the military merit system and its national power was greatly improved. Later, Sima Qiu, the state lieutenant, screened 100,000 Qin soldiers based on the Wei soldiers. They first had to pass the physical fitness test and created the Ruishi. In addition to the heavy weight of the Wei warriors, plus a full armor, a wide dagger, a fine iron dagger and a cowhide shield, the total amount is about 80 kilograms. In addition, skills tests must be conducted to assess individual combat abilities using various weapons on the one hand, and team combat capabilities in various formations on the other. Only soldiers who pass the test can become a member of Qin Ruishi. Therefore, Qin Ruishi can be called an all-round military unit during the Warring States period. They can fight Zhao Biankai when mounted, and Wei soldiers when dismounted. They have very strong combat effectiveness in both horse and infantry battles. Moreover, the captain of Qin Ruishi's 1,000-man team back then was Bai Qi, the human butcher. In the Battle of Yuk that year, it was Bai Qi who led Qin Rui and ordinary soldiers of Qin to fight against the coalition forces of Wei and Han. In the end, Bai Qi avoided the real situation and attacked the weak, defeated the Wei and Han coalition forces, and beheaded 20 people. 40,000, Wei Wu soldiers lost all. Therefore, it can be said that Qin Ruishi was the most powerful army during the Warring States period, and its combat effectiveness was even more powerful than Wei Wuzu. Because of this, Lu Feng had such full confidence in Qin Ruishi. Sun Yu, who was familiar with the art of war and knew history well, naturally also knew Qin Ruishi's abilities, so he had no objection to Lu Feng's arrangement. However, Chen Dao did not know that there were elite soldiers like Qin Ruishi in Luoyang, the capital of the Dragon Kingdom, so after arriving outside Luoyang city, he waited until night before ordering the white-ear soldiers to launch a surprise attack. However, Sun Yu had long expected that the Shu Kingdom would send a surprise force to attack Luoyang, so he had already sent scouts to explore outside the city, and also sent people riding golden eagles to observe the enemy's movements in the air. Therefore, Chen Dao and the 3,000 white-eared soldiers led by him had long been exposed to Sun Yu's investigation range, but Sun Yu did not say anything and still pretended not to know. But secretly, Sun Yu has organized a defense in the city. As long as the enemy files attack the city, they will definitely be unable to come back. As time passed and the Shu army never attacked the city, Sun Yu guessed that the enemy wanted to wait until all the soldiers defending the city had rested before launching an attack. Although Chen Dao had good ideas, facing a super strategist like Sun Yu, all his plans were guessed in advance by Sun Yu. Therefore, Sun Yu deliberately ordered the soldiers defending the city to start cooking earlier than usual. It was still bright and the dragon army defending the city had finished their meal, so Sun Yu ordered the soldiers defending the city to take turns to rest. Until after dark at night, Sun Yu ordered the centurions of each army to wake up all their soldiers and ban the use of torches. Everyone lurked in the designated position in the dark and waited for the Shu army to attack the city. After the third watch, Chen Dao finally gave an order, and 3,000 white-haired soldiers quietly walked to the foot of Luoyang city. Seeing that the soldiers patrolling the city wall had all passed by, they couldn't help but doze off, so they immediately put up a ladder on the city wall, head ready to climb up. However, those dozing defenders were pretending to sleep under Sun Yu's orders. In fact, someone was secretly monitoring the actions of the buyer soldiers. Sure enough, the first soldiers to climb up were all quietly killed by Qin Ruishi, who pretended to be asleep. Because the buyer soldiers saw the enemy troops sleeping, they were completely unprepared. Qin Ruishi effortlessly killed most of the Shu troops who climbed up first. Since Qin Ruishi also killed people secretly, Chen Dao at the bottom of the city and the buyer soldiers who had not climbed up did not know the situation above and continued to climb up one after another. But every time someone came up, they were pinned to the ground and killed by more than a dozen Qin Rui soldiers, without even having time to make a sound. There were 3,000 white-haired soldiers, and after nearly 300 people climbed up, Chen Dao, who was at the bottom of the city, saw that the city wall was still quiet. Not only were there no shouts of killing, but no soldiers of his own came to respond and report. Then he felt something was wrong. So he quickly stopped his soldiers from climbing up, and instead climbed up the city wall himself. When Chen arrived at the city wall, he didn't see the more than 200 soldiers who had come up earlier. There was a lot of blood on the ground, but there were no corpses. Only then did he realize that he had been tricked. So Chen Dao shouted loudly to the people below the city, "Brothers, we have been discovered. Don't be afraid to climb up anymore. Hurry up, everyone, hurry up and come up with me to seize control of the city gate and enter Dragon Kingdom Palace." After Chen Dao shouted, the white-haired soldiers below the city, no longer cautious, added 2 more ladders, and began to climb up the city quickly. After Chen Dao finished shouting, Sun Yu also knew that there was no way to trap the enemy with the previous strategy, so he ordered Qin Rui to form a formation to attack Chen Dao, and to capture the thief first and capture the king first. At the same time, 7,000 ordinary soldiers of the Dragon Kingdom were actively defending to prevent the white-haired soldiers from climbing up, and even overturned a ladder in a short period of time. However, the white-haired soldiers were still extraordinary troops comparable to the 6th-level soldiers. Ordinary Dragon Kingdom soldiers could not resist them. Soon, more than 2,000 white-haired soldiers all climbed up the city wall. Sun Yu finally saw these soldiers clearly by the light of the fire. They all had white yak-tail decorations on their bodies. They were indeed the white-haired soldiers Lu Feng had told him before leaving. So Sun Yu commanded 1,000 Qin warriors to trap Chen Dao, and the remaining 2,000 men went to resist the buyer soldiers. As a 7th-level soldier, Qin Ruishi's combat power was even more powerful than that of the dragon soldiers. He had no trouble dealing with the white-haired soldiers. In less than half an hour, he relied on his formation and spears to kill all the more than 2,000 white-haired soldiers. Then they besieged Chen Dao together. Even if Chen Dao was a super general, he was unable to withstand the siege of 3,000 7th-level soldiers. In addition, all his white-haired soldiers were killed, and he already knew that the sneak attack on Luoyang had failed, so his sword skills gradually became messy, and he was eventually captured alive by Qin Ruishi. At the same time, outside Luo County, Lu Feng's million-strong army finally arrived. In order to win the first prize, Lu Buledin stepped forward to call for battle again, so Wu Tugu also went out of the city to fight again. Liu Bei knew that Wu Tugu and Lu Buledin were evenly matched in both battles. Now that the Dragon Emperor was here in person, he wanted a quick victory, so he sent Guan Yu and Zhang Fei to assist Wu Tugu. However, Lu Feng could not let Lu Buledin be besieged. Before he could say anything, Dian Wei rushed forward to resist the 2 generals Guan and Zhang on his own. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 327. Liu Bei sent Guan Yu and Zhang Fei forward to assist Wu Tugu in killing Lu Buledin, which was really a helpless move. Because he knew that with Wu Tugu's strength alone, at most he would be tied with Lu Buledin like the previous 2 times, and would not be able to win at all. However, Liu Bei could accept the first 2 draws, but at this time Lu Feng's million-strong army had already arrived at the city, and dozens of his generals were watching eagerly. If the 2 still tied, it would be obvious that the Shu kingdom would fall into a passive position. After all, the only generals currently available to Liu Bei are Wu Tugu, Guan Yu, Zhang Fei, and Wei Yan. As for the Dragon Kingdom, in addition to Lu Buledin, the Dragon Emperor Lu Feng is also a peerless military general, and he once defeated Lu Buledin. So if even Lu Buledin can't be killed, then once Lu Buledin and Lu Feng join forces, he will be defeated by the Dragon Kingdom very quickly, and he won't even be able to wait for the news from Luoyang. Therefore, it is better to cut off one of his fingers than to injure 10 of them. Only by killing Lu Buledin can it bring a major blow to the Dragon Kingdom. At least in terms of top combat power, Lu Feng is the only one. But what Liu Bei didn't know was that Lu Feng had already broken through to the realm of Wuji warrior at this time, and even if Wu Tugu and Guanzhong joined forces, they would not be his opponent. Another point is that Chen Dao has been captured by Qin Ruishi commanded by Sun Yu, and all the Bayer soldiers he led have been killed. Therefore, it is no longer possible for Liu Bei to rely on Chen Dao to sneak attack Luoyang and force Lu Feng to retreat, and there is no possibility of defeating Lu Feng in a head-on battle. The demise of Shu is already doomed. On the other side, in the battle between 2 peerless generals, Lu Buledin and Wu Tugu, morally speaking, Guan Yu and Zhang Fei did not want to attack, and Wu Tugu himself was not willing either. But they all also know that the situation at this time does not allow them to be moral. As long as they can win this battle, they are willing to pay any price. But the soldiers of the Dragon Kingdom were naturally unwilling to do this. Although Lu Buledin was once their opponent, that was already in the past. Now he is not only a comrade of the generals, but also the father-in-law of the Dragon Emperor. Therefore, no matter what aspect they consider, the generals will not allow Lu Buledin to be besieged by the 3 strongest top generals in Shu. And Lu Buledin himself didn't want Guan Yu and Zhang Fei to come forward. Although he had twice single-handedly challenged Liu Bei, Guan Yu, and Zhang Fei at Hulao Pass and outside Luoyang City, that was obviously different from the situation in front of him. Liu Bei is just a second-rate general. It would be easier for him and Guan Yu and Zhang Fei to attack him than it would be for him to fight against Guan Yu and Zhang Fei alone. Because Liu Bei's force is too weak, as long as Lu Buledin focuses on attacking Liu Bei, Guan Yu and Zhang Fei will need to concentrate on protecting him, and their offensive and defense will inevitably have flaws. But Wu Tugu is obviously different. He can tie with Lu Buledin alone. Plus Guan Yu and Zhang Fei, Lu Buledin will definitely not be able to beat him. However, as one of the generals who had followed Lu Feng for the longest time, Dian Wei understood Lu Feng's thoughts very well, so he rushed out when Guan and Zhang moved. Guan and Zhang didn't want to besiege Lu Buledin, but Dian Wei happened to rush out, so they rushed towards Dian Wei. The 3 of them are all super generals, and according to the historical ranking of the generals of the 3 kingdoms, Dian Wei, Guan Yu, and Zhang Fei ranked 3rd, 4th and 6th respectively in terms of military strength. Although this ranking is ranked by later generations based on the achievements in history books and folklore, it is inevitably a bit biased, but it does doubtfully prove that Dian Wei's military power is slightly higher than that of Guan and Zhang. But after all, it was a duel with force. Now Dian Wei was 1 against 2, and as time went by, he inevitably fell into a disadvantage. The 3 of them were on horseback like a revolving lantern, standing still and resisting each other's attacks, while also launching counter-attacks. The first 30 rounds were the peak of Guan Yu's martial arts, so he took the lead. The 82-pound Qing Longyanyu sword was swung by Guan Yu, but Dian Wei held an iron halberd in one hand and resisted Guan Yu at the same time. Resist Zhang Fei. After 30 rounds, Guan Yu's physical strength declined, and Zhang Fei began to lead the attack. The Zangba snake spear continued to find the opening for Dian Wei to thrust out. Unlike Guan Yu, Zhang Fei is a very explosive general. The angrier he is, the higher his force value is. Seeing that neither of the two brothers could capture Dian Wei quickly, Zhang Fei felt more and more embarrassed and angry the more he beat him, and finally couldn't help but burst out. With Zhang Fei's outburst, Dian Wei became even more difficult to resist. His double iron halberd weighed 39 kilograms in the left hand and 41 kilograms in the right hand. The total weight was 80 kilograms. After fighting for so long, he gradually became a little more confident. Can't stand it anymore. But Dian Wei turned around and saw Lu Feng looking at him with encouraging eyes, so he gritted his teeth and used all his strength to swing Zhang Fei's snake spear away, and roared, "I thought you two were considered a hero. I didn't Euro trademark T expect you to be so disrespectful of face now, 2 against 1. If I, Lao Dian, hadn't Euro trademark T come out to fight, you would still want to attack Lu Buletin 3 against 1, which really made me lose my sight. If it were a one-on-one fight, I have long cut off your heads and used them as chamber pots." After hearing Dian Wei's words, Guan Yu and Zhang Fei couldn't help but blush. Although they came under Liu Bei's order, everything Dian Wei said was true. It's really impossible to refute. So the two of them had no choice but to grit their teeth and continue to besiege Dian Wei, hoping to kill Dian Wei as soon as possible and then retreat back to the formation. But what no one expected was that under such strong pressure, Dian Wei's military power actually broke through and he became a peerless general. Although he made the breakthrough on his own and did not change jobs, so he did not have the 5th job transfer skill, but as his level improved, he instantly felt full of strength. At the same time, Guan Yu and Zhang Fei, who were fighting against Dian Wei, also immediately felt Dian Wei's breakthrough. Their faces turned livid, and their attacks could not help but become a little faster. At the same time, the soldiers on both sides also felt Dian Wei's breakthrough. Lu Feng was naturally filled with joy, and the generals of the Dragon Kingdom were also happy for Dian Wei, but the Shu Kingdom fell silent. It was already difficult to defeat Lu Feng and Lu Biyu. Now that Dian Wei had become a peerless general, they had no chance. But Lu Buletin, who was at the peak of peerless at that time, was only tied with Guan and Zhang before Hulao Pass. Now Dian Wei has just broken through to the early stage of peerless, so he is still at a disadvantage. At this moment, Wu Tugu also felt the changes in Dian Wei. In order to defeat Lu Buletin, he directly entered the demonized state. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 328. Wu Tugu chose to become a demon, and his body underwent tremendous changes. The protruding bones that were originally 1 or 2 feet tall, with a waist that was 10 inches wide, and scales on his back, turned into something like a monster. Not only has his height increased by more than half, reaching a height of nearly 2 feet, but his scales have spread to his face, and there are even tumors on his head that look like bull horns. Lu Buletin, who was fighting fiercely with Wu Tugu, did not expect that he would undergo such a change. He was caught off guard and was frightened. Even the Red Rabbit Horse under his crotch was frightened. If Lu Buletin hadn't been with Red Rabbit Horse almost all day, and they had a lot of tacit understanding with each other, and he himself had excellent riding skills and was good at taming fierce horses, he might have been thrown to the ground by Red Rabbit Horse. Lu Buletin spent a lot of effort to calm down the Red Rabbit Horse, mainly because this Red Rabbit is a divine horse in this world and has great understanding of human nature. However, Guan Yu and Zhang Fei were in misfortune. Because both of them were riding ordinary war horses, they were frightened by the demonic energy emanating from the Wutu bones. They disobeyed the command and went crazy, throwing Guan Yu and Zhang Fei off. As for Dian Wei, he had never ridden a horse since he first followed Lu Feng. The fierce battle with Guan and Zhang just now was based on foot generals fighting against cavalry generals, and he was still only slightly at a disadvantage, which is enough to illustrate Dian Wei's bravery. However, after all, Guan Yu and Zhang Fei were both cavalry commanders and were not good at fighting on foot. Without their horses, the two of them fought Dian Wei on the ground and were instantly at a disadvantage. Guan Yu's weapon Qing Longyanyu sword and Zhang Fei's Zangba snake spear are both long weapons, which are very convenient for horse fighting. However, without horses, because the weapons are too long, there is no depth space to swing downwards, so it is very inconvenient. So with the help of foot combat, Dian Wei instantly gained the upper hand. On the other side, after Wu Tubon was transformed into a demon, not only did his figure and appearance undergo huge changes, but his strength and martial arts were also greatly improved. Although Lu Buledin saw how terrifying Wu Tugu was at this moment, he was not frightened by it. Instead, he stepped forward on horseback, brandishing the Fangtian painted halberd, preparing to continue fighting with him. But what Lu Buledin didn't expect was that with the momentum of the red rabbit horse and the halberd he swung with all his strength, Wu Tugu could block it with one hand. Moreover, as the one who took the move, he did not even take a step back. Instead, Lu Buledin, who made the move, felt as if his halberd had hit a wall. Not only was his mouth numb from the shock, but his chest also seemed to be hurt. There was a backlash. But before he could take a breath and adjust his breathing, the long and protruding knife had already struck him. At this time, Wu Tugu launched an attack. It was no longer just a simple force attack like when he was normal. At this time, he slashed with a knife, and the demonic energy in his body also burst out, locking Lu Buledin. This demonic energy was just a breath. Although Lu Buledin was not affected, the red rabbit horse under his crotch seemed to feel the breath of the predator at the top of the food chain. This is an instinct derived from the animal itself. Since the formation of the horse species, it has been fighting against superior predators for thousands of years and has been passed down from generation to generation. No matter how Lu Buledin moved it, the red rabbit horse had no reaction and remained in the same place. Shivering. Under the crisis, it was impossible for Lu Buledin to leave his beloved red rabbit horse and escape alone, so he had no choice but to bite the bullet and hold up the Fangtian painted halberd with both hands to resist the blow of the demonized Wu Tubon. Although Lu Buledin had expected that he could no longer compare with Wu Tugu in terms of strength, he still underestimated the power of demonization. Wu Tugu's blow directly hit Lu Buledin's Fangtian painted halberd, followed by a loud noise. Lu Buledin felt as if all the power of the world was pouring into him. Then, he was directly knocked away by Wu Tugu's blow. Wu Tugu's attack really shocked everyone. All the soldiers of the Dragon Kingdom felt a sense of fear, because Lu Buledin's force was far stronger than that of everyone present. Only Lu Feng was stronger than him, but the gap between the two was not so obvious. Obviously, in the hearts of the generals, even the Dragon Emperor Lu Feng was no match for his demonized figure. But on the other side, Liu Bei, who was above Luo Kang, was extremely excited. Because he saw Wu Tugu's strength, he even began to imagine Lu Feng being stepped on by Wu Tugu. But Wu Tugu didn't feel any excitement in his heart, because he knew that although demonization could greatly improve his strength, it was not the right way after all. After the demonic power recedes, his body will surely suffer irreversible damage. Not only will it be impossible for him to break through again with force throughout his life, but he will even regress. Because demonization actually causes his own tendons to rapidly expand, making him more powerful, but the forced expansion of the tendons is caused by the infusion of demonic energy. After the demonic energy recedes, the expanded tendons cannot be repaired at all. Therefore, he would not consider demonization at all unless absolutely necessary. But now facing Lu Feng's army, he had no choice. Because although he was in the land of the southern barbarians, he had long heard about Dragon Emperor Lu Feng's attitude towards foreign races. If they are not from my race, their hearts must be different. Lu Feng had such a thought, and it was destined that he would not allow it. There are alien races within the scope of his rule. Even around his territory, aliens need to be eradicated as much as possible. The Goguryeo Kingdom, the Fuyu Kingdom, the Wuhuan tribe, the Xianbei royal court, the Woju and the Luyi, these foreign tribes in the north of the Dragon Kingdom have long since become history, and their territories have also become the territory of the Dragon Kingdom. If the Dragon Emperor were allowed to defeat the Shu Kingdom and unify the Central Plains, then his Yugo Kingdom would also suffer disaster. Therefore, in order to defeat the Dragon Kingdom army and protect his tribe and people, Wu Tugu had to choose to become a demon. After defeating Lu Buledin with one move, Wu Tugu led 3,000 of his 30,000 most elite vine-armed soldiers and charged directly at the center of the Dragon Kingdom's army. He knew that he would not be demonized for long, so he needed to capture or kill the Dragon Emperor as quickly as possible. Only in this way could he completely defeat the Dragon Kingdom army. These 3,000 Tengjia troops made his most direct troops all enter a demonized state, and their combat effectiveness was terrifying. This is a talent that belongs to the barbarians, and other tribes do not have this ability. Seeing Wu Tugu charging forward with great momentum, Zhao Yun, Tai Shi and other generals protected Lu Feng behind them, and even told Lu Feng to run away quickly. Even Liu Bei's face showed a hint of fanaticism. But Lu Feng did not escape. He, who had become the Wuji warrior, stepped out from the crowd and said to his soldiers, "Get out of the way and watch me personally take action and use the power of the real dragon to kill this devil." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 329. After Lu Feng finished speaking, he immediately burst out with his momentum. As the aura from his body continued to spread outward, everyone present felt a kind of supreme pressure. This feeling was like the instinctive fear deep in the heart when facing a higher-level creature. Although the civil servants and generals of the Dragon Kingdom and a million-strong army who were closest to Lu Feng at this time were at the center of this momentum, as the person who exuded this murderous aura, Lu Feng was able to control the direction of the momentum. He directed the main target of this momentum to Wu Tugu's body, and tried his best to send the rest towards Loxian County. Even so, Zhao Yun, Guojia and others beside Lu Feng still felt flustered, and the soldiers of the Shu Kingdom who were pointed by the momentum felt unconsciously wanting to kneel down and surrender. Later, Lu Feng turned this momentum into a five-clawed golden dragon, floating above Lu Feng, and everyone instantly knew the source of this momentum, which was the supreme dragon power. At this time, the generals on both sides also understood one thing, that is, the Dragon Emperor has now broken through again. He has broken through the realm of peerless generals and became the first and only one in the Han dynasty in 400 years. The Infinite Warrior. After understanding this, Zhao Yun, Tai Shi and others were filled with joy and no longer protected Lu Feng behind them, because they already knew that no one in the world could hurt Lu Feng in a duel at this time. So, the two of them, as well as Zhang Liao, Ma Chao and other Dragon Kingdom soldiers, all knelt down on one knee and said excitedly to Lu Feng, "Congratulations, Your Majesty, for your breakthrough." In response, Lu Feng just waved his hand slowly, signaling for everyone to get up. After all, he is still on the battlefield, and after the demonization of the protruding bone, he also has the power to surpass the peerless military commander. At this time, he cannot take it lightly. However, compared to the excitement of the Dragon Kingdom generals, the Shu Kingdom soldiers were full of shock and despair at this time, and Liu Bei's mood also experienced several ups and downs like a roller coaster. At first, facing the two peerless military generals Lu Feng and Lu Buledin of the Dragon Kingdom, he already felt full pressure, so when Wu Tugu and Lu Buledin were drawn, he sent Guan Yu and Zhang Fei to attack Lu Buledin. However, before the two of them arrived, they were intercepted by Dian Wei, the fierce general of the Dragon Kingdom. Moreover, Dian Wei even broke through to the realm of a peerless general despite the adversity of being 1 against 2. As a result, the Dragon Kingdom already had 3 peerless generals, which made Liu Bei feel a sense of powerlessness in his heart. But then, the 2 top super generals Guan Yu and Zhang Fei joined forces to put Dian Wei, who had just entered the peerless realm, at a disadvantage, causing Liu Bei to temporarily breathe a sigh of relief. Immediately afterwards, Wu Tugu actually demonized himself, bursting out with the powerful combat power of the machine, and blew away the once invincible Lu Buletin with just one move. Such absolutely top-notch force surprised Liu Bei, and he even foresaw the hope of victory. After all, although Lu Feng is a little more powerful than Lu Buletin, he is still very similar. If Wu Tugu can blow away Lu Buletin with one move, he will definitely be able to defeat Lu Feng within a few moves, or even kill him. But before he could be happy for a long time, Lu Feng showed his supreme majesty as a Wuji warrior. The murderous aura condensed into a 5-clawed golden dragon that was as solid as a 5-clawed golden dragon, which made everyone unable to breathe and even unable to straighten their waists. At this time, not only Liu Bei was desperate, but Guan Yu and Zhang Fei were also desperate. Liu Buletin, a peerless military general, needed the 2 top super generals to join forces to deal with him. Even in a 2-on-1 battle, they could only barely draw a tie with Liu Buletin. Now that Lu Feng has become the Wuji general, even judging from their previous record of besieging Liu Buletin, it would take at least 2 peerless generals to fight Lu Feng to a draw. However, in this era of separatism among the heroes in the late Han Dynasty, there were only a handful of 3 people, Liu Buletin, Wu Tugu and the former Lu Feng, plus Dian Wei, who had just made a breakthrough. In other words, the Shu kingdom simply could not gather enough peerless generals to challenge Lu Feng. And the Wuji warrior, this is a state that no one has been able to achieve since the founding of the Han Dynasty. The last person who was able to break through to the Wuji warrior was the 11th Chu, who was capable of carrying a cauldron and was known as unparalleled throughout the ages over Lord Xiang Yu. As the Wuji warrior, the most powerful thing is not how many martial arts he has mastered and how high his force is, but that he can understand more rules of force than the peerless generals. A low-ranking general can quickly become a third-rate general by practicing martial arts. After hard work, he can also cross over from a third-rate general to a second-rate general. But starting from a second-rate general, and then trying to break through, it will take great talent and hard work to become a first-rate general, and promotion from a first-rate general to a super general will require doubled effort, talent, and even the guidance of a famous teacher. This also explains why unqualified generals are like crucian carp crossing the river. There are also many third-rate and second-rate generals, but there are very few first-rate generals, and even fewer super generals. Therefore, at this time, Lu Feng has mastered more rules of force, so his battle with a peerless general will be as simple as a peerless general fighting a super general. Even because General Wuji understands more rules of force, it is easier for him to fight against a peerless general than against a peerless general against a super general. It can even be said to be a beating. But the problem is that Wu Tugu's demonized strength now also exceeds that of a peerless military general. Therefore, there is still some luck in the hearts of the Shu soldiers. They hope that Wu Tugu can use the demonized power to defeat Lu Feng. Although Wu Tugu also felt the supreme dragon power emanating from Lu Feng, he had already given his life to the devil and was obviously not intimidated by this simple power. He still rushed towards Lu Feng without hesitation, and raised the long knife in his hand, preparing to kill Lu Feng like Liu Buletin. However, Lu Feng did not dodge. He also raised the black jade spear with one hand, burst out all his super god power, and struck a blow with Wu Tubone. Then the terrifying power transformed Wu Tubone into a demonized state. Knocked out. Wu Tubone was already invulnerable, and its defense was even more terrifying in its demonized state. It withstood the blow without being injured, but stood up quickly. However, Lu Feng quickly used his 6th level skill, True Dragon Fusion. he integrated himself into the five-clawed golden dragon, rushed towards Wu Tuibone at an almost invisible speed, and penetrated his body before he could react. Then, the invulnerable Wu Tuibone was broken into several pieces. At the same time, the red blood dragon riders formed a formation and rushed towards the demonized vine armor soldiers. Without the magical blessing of the protruding bones, the vine armor soldiers were also vulnerable and were slaughtered by the red blood dragon riders. With the destruction of the Tengjia army, news came that Chen Dao and Bai's elite troops had been wiped out. Liu Bei knew that the situation in Shu was over. But he didn't want to become a prisoner of the Dragon Emperor and commit suicide in the palace. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 330. Because before Lu Feng led his army to Yizhu, he had told Sun Yu that Liu Bei had an ace army, and his soldiers were all decorated with white yak-tails and were called white-eared soldiers. Although this unit is not famous and has almost never been on the battlefield, its combat effectiveness is very powerful. Even apart from being an infantry unit, it is not much weaker than CAO's Tiger and Leopard cavalry. The main reason why such an extraordinary division has remained unknown is that this unit is Liu Bei's personal soldiers, specifically responsible for protecting Liu Bei's safety, and will not go into battle easily. The commander of this army, Chen Dao, is also a super general. The reason why Lu Feng told Sun Yu about the white soldiers before leaving was because he knew that with such an extraordinary army in his hands, Liu Bei would not be willing to trap the capital of Shu. Letting the Bai soldiers stay in Luocheng can only slightly resist the Dragon Kingdom's army. At least in Liu Bei's mind, he should be very clear that although the white soldier is a rare and extraordinary division, it is simply impossible to face the invincible division Red Blood Dragon Cavalry, or even the King's divisions such as Dragon Warrior Soldiers and Dragon City Iron Cavalry. There is a slight chance of winning. Therefore, Lu Feng believes that instead of leaving Liu Bei to die in Loxian County, it is better to use the low-key and unknown characteristics of this army to let it attack Luoyang to allow Liu Bei to complete the reversal. After all, once he personally marches like he did when he attacked Wei, all the millions of troops from the Dragon Kingdom will follow, and all the military generals and several super troops from the Dragon Kingdom will go together. Therefore, Luoyang's defense is very empty in Liu Bei's view, and as long as a few of the King's divisions from the Dragon Kingdom are not around, the white-eared soldiers will be enough to capture Luoyang. When the time comes to capture the capital of the Dragon Kingdom and take the Dragon Emperor's queen and concubines as hostages, the Dragon Emperor will definitely retreat. This is Liu Bei's only chance. If Liu Bei could think of it, Lu Feng would naturally think of it too. That's why Lu Feng introduced the characteristics of the white soldiers to Sun Yu, and left Qin Rui Shi, who had also never fought before, to resist the white soldiers. So when Sun Yu saw that all 3,000 soldiers were decorated with white yak-tails, he concluded that this army must be the white-eared soldiers. And then 1,000 Qin Rui soldiers besieged Chen Dao. Even if Chen Dao was a super general, if it were an ordinary army, let alone 1,000, or even 3,000, he could break out of the siege with his own bravery. But he was facing a 7th level unit like Qin Ruishi. Not only were each Qin Ruishi soldiers more skilled in martial arts than ordinary soldiers, they could even be directly transferred to other units to become mid-level generals, and their cooperation was more tacit. Thousands of Qin Rui soldiers formed a battle formation to complement each other's weaknesses. Coupled with sophisticated equipment, even if Chen Dao was superb in martial arts, he was no match for this 1,000-man army. Coupled with the fact that the remaining 2,000 Qin Rui soldiers slaughtered the Bai soldiers crazily, Chen Dao was distracted, and he was quickly captured alive by 1,000 Qin Rui soldiers. Later, through interrogation, Sun Yu learned that this person was Chen Dao, and that the unit he led was indeed the Bai soldiers. After receiving Chen Dao's affirmative answer, even if Sun Yu was a super counselor, he had to respect Lu Feng in awe. Although he himself guessed that Liu Bei would probably send troops to attack Luoyang, he did not know which troops Liu Bei would send, and he did not even know the name of the white-eared soldiers. However, Lu Feng not only knew about the white-eared soldiers, but also directly asserted that Liu Bei would definitely send the white-eared soldiers to attack Luoyang, which made Sun Yu admire him very much. After all, the white-eared soldiers were too mysterious, and as far as Sun Yu knew, not only had Lu Feng never been to Yizhu, but his relationship with Liu Bei was not as mutually respectful as with Cao, so he was even more worried about Lu Feng knowing about the white-eared soldiers. Magic. However, as a super counselor, Sun Yu could clearly understand the importance of the white-eared soldiers to Liu Bei. In all the previous battles, elite troops like the Bayer soldiers had never been on the battlefield and were responsible for staying behind to protect Liu Bei's safety. And Chen Dao has martial arts that are not weaker than Guan Yu and Zhang Fei. In order to lead the white-eared soldiers and protect Liu Bei personally, he never goes into battle. This is enough to show that whether it is Chen Dao or Bayer Bing, Liu Bei has high expectations for them. At least when he is in danger, as long as Chen Dao and Bayer Bing are around, he will feel very at ease. However, with such an important force, when a million-strong army of the Dragon Kingdom besieged Luoyang, and Liu Bei had neither available soldiers nor generals capable of fighting, he still sent Chen Dao and Bayer soldiers out to attack Luoyang without hesitation. Therefore, it can be said that Chen Dao and Bayer Bing placed all their hopes on Liu Bei. Once his hopes are shattered, he will have no chance of making a comeback, and may even give up resistance and surrender directly. Sun Yu thought of this, so he did not kill all the Bayer soldiers. Instead, he deliberately let go of nearly 100 Bayer soldiers and let them escape back to Luoyang to tell Liu Bei the news of Chen Dao's failure. As Sun Yu expected, the news of Chen Dao's defeat became the last straw for Liu Bei. After learning the news, Liu Bei walked down the city alone, returned to the palace, and committed suicide. Jia Su saw Liu Bei's loneliness, so he secretly followed Liu Bei back to the palace and saw Liu Bei's death with his own eyes. When Liu Bei died, the kingdom of Shu was destroyed. The generals of the kingdom of Shu had no one to loyal to. They had to either submit to the Dragon Emperor or die along with Liu Bei. In this regard, Jia Su, who has always been good at protecting himself wisely, naturally did not hesitate. He secretly found Zhang Xiu, and together with Zhang Xiu shouted the news of Liu Bei's suicide on the city wall, told Lu Feng, and opened the gate of Luoyang to welcome the dragon. The emperor entered the city. After learning about Liu Bei's death, Guan Yu and Zhang Fei felt heartbroken. They immediately took their weapons, urged their horses, and charged towards the Dragon Emperor. However, Lu Feng, the Wuji general, did not bother to fight Guan and Zhang. Zhao Yun and Ma Chao rushed out from Lu Feng's side and blocked Guan and Zhang respectively. Although Guan and Zhang were furious after Liu Bei's death, they could not take any advantage against Zhao Yun and Ma Chao. In the end, because the two fought in Dianwei for a long time and their physical strength was insufficient, after more than 100 rounds of fierce fighting, Zhao Yun used his unique skill 7 detection coiled snake spear to kill Guan Yu, while Ma Chao also relied on Ma Jia's marksmanship to stab Zhang Fei to death. After Zhang Fei and Guan Yu died, no one could stop Lu Feng's army from entering the city. However, it was obviously impossible for all the Dragon Kingdom's millions of troops to enter the city, so Lu Feng only brought a few major generals such as Zhao Yun, Ma Chao, and Guo Jia to enter. Royal Palace. After seeing Liu Bei's body, Lu Feng couldn't help but sigh for this hero and ordered him to be buried generously. Lu Feng's actions won the favor of the remaining officials of the Shu Kingdom, and the Shu officials immediately surrendered to the Dragon Emperor.